A career in the world of sports or the world of entertainment can be very rewarding, but not all of us are standout athletes or talented performers. My guest on today's episode of Press Conference, Diane McGraw, will discuss how young students can chart a successful career path in sports and entertainment. I'm your host, Jim DeLorenzo, the principal of Jim DeLorenzo Public Relations. You can find me online at jimdelorenzo.com. I have found that my career in public relations is my true vocation, telling the stories of my clients and my colleagues in a compelling way to drive sales, membership, and awareness. If you have ever had any questions about the role public relations can play in your business or in your career, I would be happy to share my thoughts and experience with you. Please feel free to contact me directly, either by email at jim@jhdenterprises.com or by cell phone or text message at 215-266-5943. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. As I mentioned earlier, my guest today, Diane McGraw, is the producer of the Dare to Dream Experience, a mentoring program for high school and college students, which introduces them to careers in sports and entertainment. Diane is currently completing an accompanying book, Behind the Scenes, Explore and Navigate a Career in Sports and Entertainment, for release this fall. Diane began her career in New York City as the assistant to the president of the Screen Actors Guild and Astoria Motion Picture Studios. She produced the I Love New York Pro Celebrity Tennis Tournament at the National Tennis Center in Flushing Meadows. Married to the late Tug McGraw of the 1980 World Series Champion Philadelphia Phillies and 1969 World Series Champion New York Mets, together they produced a variety of sports and entertainment properties, including the 20th anniversary reunion weekend of the 1980 World Series Champions and a gala for them at the Academy of Music. Diane was formerly Executive Director of Tourism and Film for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Sports and Entertainment Commission, the Orlando Sports Commission, the Louisville Sports Commission, and the Philadelphia Sports Congress. Her career highlights include bidding for, hosting, and producing events, including the 1994 World Cup Soccer, the Army-Navy game, NHL and MLB All-Star Games, PGA Championships, Ryder Cup Experience, AVP Volleyball, Ford Ironman, NCAA and U.S. Olympic Championship events. On behalf of the City of Los Angeles, Diane negotiated the return of the Grammy Awards as the first premier event in the Staples Center and relocated the LA Film Festival from Santa Monica to Hollywood, where it is now known as the AFI Film Festival. And she has hosted and assisted the producers of multiple award shows, including the MTV Video Music Awards, the American Music Awards, and I lost the page, and the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. I'm very happy to have Diane as my guest. I've known of Diane for many years. We've had a couple interactions in the past, but I'm really excited to hear what you're doing now. All of your experience to this point have been in the sports and entertainment business, and you've done so many spectacular events. What was the impetus for you to get into a career in sports and entertainment? Was this something that you had always thought of doing?
Well, first of all, Jim, thank you for having me on today. I'm so excited to be here. No, I had no idea that I was going to be in sports. I thought I was going into acting. I moved to New York City at the age of 20. Thinking I was getting into the acting world, worked for the Screen Actors Guild. And I just happened to go to a tennis tournament over on the East River in New York. And the tennis pros said, well, you must know celebrities. Can you bring them here? And I said, probably. And he said, let's do a pro celebrity tennis tournament. So I thought that was a great idea. And one thing led to another. I ended up with the rights to the I Love New York logo. And I created the I Love New York Pro Celebrity Tennis Tournament, ran my first event that I had no idea what I was doing.
What you were getting into.
I had no clue. I had no marketing, event, PR experience. I just had an idea. So one thing led to another. I ran tennis in New York for 5 years and ended up in Holland and ran tennis over in Holland and Germany.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough through some family relationships to meet World Cup soccer people, and they jokingly said to me, why don't you bring real football to the United States, meaning soccer? And that was back in 1986. So when I returned home to Philadelphia, I went to Vet Stadium and I said, I have a soccer match between Holland and Brazil I'd like to produce. And the general manager said, you're out of your mind, no one will come.
Right.
We don't like soccer, we're football here. Go talk to Franklin Field, maybe they'll put on the game. Went over and met with the athletic director, and they said, you know, the United States is bidding for the World Cup next year, and if they win a bid, Philadelphia's going to want to host some games, so go talk to the city of Philadelphia. They just started a sports congress. So one thing led to another. I went there, and we ended up with a match between the U.S. national team and USSR. We had 43,000 people.
And soccer will never sell in Philadelphia, right?
Right. And so we ended up funding the Sports Congress, the Soccer Federation, and the World Cup office.
Wow.
So the city of Philadelphia hired me to be the executive director, and then my career went off from there into other cities.
It's interesting, too, because my next show here, I'm talking to one of the people on the 2026 host committee for the World Cup.
Oh.
Trying to bring games to Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. And it always seems to be there's those stumbling blocks where people say, oh, it'll never happen, and all of a sudden it happens, and it's a success, mm-hmm. which I think is very interesting. We kind of downplay the interest of people in these different things, mm-hmm. but you really experienced that on a grassroots level, seeing people getting involved in tennis, seeing people getting involved in soccer and other sports, like beach volleyball and things
mm-hmm,
like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you start to put these events on, and the cities do bid for them, and that was the industry that I ended up being in,
right.
In the very beginning, there's so many things behind it. It's the hospitality industry, it's the hotels, it's transportation, it's sponsors, it's the venue. So all those ingredients come into a bid for a major event like a World Cup soccer or a Super Bowl or an Olympic event, NCAA championship.
You kind of pioneered that too, as I recall, because not a lot of effort was being put into that by the cities, or there were sports groups, there were associations for the different sports, and there were leagues and things, but nobody had really taken the forefront of, let's get all our efforts aligned to bring this event to town. Mm-hmm. And when you started that in the 80s, that was really kind of like a whole new ball game. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now it's like a major factor in the sports world and in the entertainment world is bidding on these events.
Exactly. In fact, the committees, the Olympic Committee or NCAA committee would decide what cities they wanted to bring an event to, and they would rotate it around the country. When sports commissions started, which Philadelphia was one of the first, I would say 6 to 8 cities that had a sports commission, we actually formed a national association so we could grow the business, grow the industry, bring more cities on. And I have to say today there's over 800 cities that are on the National Association.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. And they're all going to be Atlantic City.
That's right.
In next month, which we'll talk about.
Okay. Now, in that role as bringing these events to cities and helping people organize and support a bid and get a bid and then deliver on the bid, you've met a lot of people of all ages who say to you, boy, that sounds great, I'd love to do that. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you hear people all the time saying, boy, you work in sports, that must be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. How has that affected what you're doing now, and how has that impacted what your goals are for the Dare to Dream experience?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was actually that had me create Dare to Dream back in Los Angeles. The Crenshaw High School basketball team won the state championship. The mayor wanted to congratulate them, bring them to his office. We did. And as I was sitting there and we were talking about my job, this young junior in high school said, well, how do I get a job like that? And I said, well, Jimmy, you're in high school right now, but math is important because you have to do budgets. English is important. You have to write proposals. And he's like, wow, that's really cool. So the next thing I knew, I was invited to the school to talk about my job. We offered an internship to the team. This young Jimmy came up every day to the 60th floor downtown Los Angeles. He probably never would have walked into a high rise. And he got on a bus every day, put on a jacket and tie. We had him do the Super Bowl bid. We did research. We were doing the Olympic torch relay. And he was going back to be a senior in high school. And he said, Mrs. McGraw, I just want to say thank you. Now they know there's a job for me in sports if I don't make it playing basketball.
Wow. That's rewarding.
So with that was the idea of Dare to Dream. Let's go out and bring this out to as many kids as possible. I went to the LA Unified School District, the campus of USC. We recruited all the sports and entertainment companies to come out. And we had this whole program put together. Unfortunately, that year, Tug and I, my late husband, we had to move back to Philadelphia. They canceled the whole program.
Oh, my.
So I was able to, through Senator Arlen Specter, a friend, he said, I like that idea. Come to Washington and see me. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
So I went to Washington, and he said, I'm going to get you funding for this program. So through the Department of Education, we had the first event at Temple University. We had the School District of Philadelphia. Over 62 schools came to this event. We had 1,600 kids at the first event.
That's fantastic.
And 40 companies came out from all the sports teams, television, radio, Kimmel Center, film office, and we produced the Dare to Dream experience. And after that, 5 more years, we've had over 3,000 kids go through this program.
That's fantastic.
So now I'm bringing it back as a virtual event.
Yes, I think we've had so many things that have changed as far as events and learning and things like that, and we're still not quite sure about live events in person right now, even to the extent of whether it's the Delta variant or other things that we're experiencing. But when we started talking earlier this summer, you talked about the Dare to Dream experience and building this virtual platform and a virtual event that will take place in January. What are some of the steps that you're taking now? You mentioned the Teams conference in Atlantic City. Is that kind of like a prep run for the January event?
Well, actually what we're doing to prepare, we have a whole digital marketing campaign and social media campaign we're running throughout the country to invite kids to get on the virtual platform. We're looking for sponsors right now to help fund some of the marketing and production costs. And because I knew the people running teams from my old days at the sports commissions, they invited me to be the opening day of the biggest sports industry convention in Atlantic City on September 28th.
Wow.
So there'll be over 1,000 delegates from sports commissions, convention bureaus, the U.S. Olympic Committee will be there, and we'll get to showcase Dare to Dream as the opening day, and we're bringing in over 200 students from local colleges and high schools to participate. And then we'll be at the esports convention in December in Pittsburgh, and,
Okay.
and the subject will be esports. Atlantic City will be more around tourism, events, sports travel type of theme.
Okay.
And we're going to film that, so when we get to the virtual platform, the virtual event, we'll have that in there as some content in the virtual event.
And you'll have speakers, and you'll have panelists, and you'll have presentations from people in the industry, both in sports and entertainment. What are some of the jobs and some of the careers that people that have gone through the Dare to Dream experience, what do they end up finding as a career path, or what are some of the success stories that you've had?
Well, you know, I wish back then when we first started this, we were able to track those students, so I'm hoping that they're as successful careers, but some of the jobs that we promote are in the film industry. You know, there's all the behind the scenes jobs, you know, whether you could be a cameraman, you can be a grip, you could be a makeup artist, a casting director. There's all those jobs that go into making a movie or a television production. In sports, you know, anything from sports management, marketing, broadcasting, sports technology, esports. And so we have researched all of those jobs in sports, television, music, performing arts, and we have now put that into a book. It's our career resource guide that every student will get a copy of that when they come to either to the live event or when they sign on to register for the virtual event in January.
Wow. Well, I want to continue this conversation, and we'll pick up with the plans for Atlantic City, the plans for the esports event in Pittsburgh, and then also want to talk to you about the upcoming book, if I can. So we're going to take a quick commercial break here, but we'll be right back with Diane McGraw and the Dare to Dream experience after these words.
Today's show is sponsored by BCAT, aligning people with their purpose. The Brand and Cultural Alignment Toolkit was designed to bring teams into alignment around their collective purpose and inspire each member to become the best version of themselves in support of the people and communities they serve. Our science-based solution consists of instruments that measure and map and collective perception of your organization's North Star and practical methods that help each member embrace and align with it.
Explore, enjoy, experience Mercer County. Picture yourself here.
You made it! I know. It's delicious. It's delicious. I know.
Find it, see it, get it first with the Realtor.com mobile app.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to create a better visitor experience.
Improve our workflow.
Attract new customers. That's when Fast Signs recommended Fleet Graphics.
Yeah, now business is rolling in. Get started at fastsigns.com.
Welcome back to Press Conference. I'm Jim DeLorenzo, your host, and my guest today is Diane McGraw. We've been talking about her experiences in the sports and entertainment industry behind the scenes, and we're talking about her upcoming event for high school and college students who have the idea that they want to work in sports and entertainment or have a career in sports and entertainment. And it's the Dare to Dream experience. And during the commercial, we talked a little bit about how high school students in particular, they have this dream about being on stage, or they have this dream about being in the pros in sports, or whether it be movies, TV, radio, stage. They're either going to be a star, a film or TV star, or they're going to be a sports star. And we all know that those odds are very long. How do we help high school kids who have that interest channel that interest into something that's maybe more realistic or perhaps more achievable with a behind-the-scenes type of a job?
Well, and that's what we're trying to do, is expose these students to the opportunities behind those industries, because there are so many jobs. But before they select what college, high school, trade school they may want to go to, they don't even know what the opportunities are. So we try to give them that information so they can then make a better choice for their higher education. Do they need to go to college, university? Can they go to a trade school? Because a lot of the jobs behind the scenes are technical. They could be a sound engineer in a recording studio, or work, in a production house and not need that college degree, although we encourage that. But not all kids are made out to do take the same path. So we created Dare to Dream to introduce the students to the jobs, meet the industry people, learn about the schools that offer the programs, and then the college students, we connect them closer to the industry so they have opportunities for internships and they're ready to go out and launch in their career. So we also have career counselors on hand too.
That's fantastic.
Help them with writing resumes to how do you interview for a job. So this is all going to be on the virtual platform. We have a career coaches corner. We have pavilions, sports pavilions, entertainment pavilions. We even have a food court.
I remember when we talked about that.
Yes.
with Uber Eats and all the other vendors.
Yes, we want to get brands involved. So while the kids are on the 3-day virtual platform, they can click on, get a coupon from Chipotle, Chick-fil-A, their favorite, places they like to, fast food places they like to go to, and they can even order Uber Eats while they're on the platform.
Are you finding it's easier to do something in the virtual space than it would be in the live space right now?
Well, because virtual is so new to everyone, we're trying to figure out from the production standpoint how it all comes together, but you get to reach many more people through virtual. And so I think it's here to stay.
Okay.
Now, you may have hybrid events where it's live and virtual, which I think is the next step. But
yes.
Virtual is very interesting. It's a new space, and people are trying to get into it and figure out how it all works.
Now, with the Dare to Dream experience, you are offering the attendees or the virtual attendees a resource guide.
Mm-hmm.
And then my understanding is you also have a book that you've been working on about being behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that also going to be part of that resource guide, or is that a separate entity?
Well, it's a separate book.
Okay.
The resource guide is a complement to the book. So this whole thing started with my book, Behind the Scenes, Explore and Navigate a Career in Sports and Entertainment. And I've recruited over 50 major top professionals in television, music, film, sports industry who I've known along the way or I've met recently, who all jumped on board and said, I want to be part of that. So they're contributors to the book. We're giving them advice behind the scenes in their jobs, how they got started. And then it's my story, it's my journey, in the beginning of the book. And so the students will have an opportunity to get a downloadable or copy of the book and the resource guide.
Fantastic.
As more of a technical side on on what are the things, the ins and outs, what do you need to know about resumes, what are the job descriptions, what are the schools.
Okay. So what are some of the things for the Dare to Dream experience? When you register, you sign on at the website, what are some of the rooms that they're going to be in? What are some of the panels? What are some of the programming that you have planned?
Okay, so we created something with another production house that is coming on board, Dundee Hill, and we've created pavilions. So my goal was not to just have a Zoom call with a lot of talking heads and panels. I wanted to make it fun and entertaining. So we have 2 main stages. One is for sports, one is for entertainment. We have an entertainment pavilion where we're going to have content in there. In fact, one of our contributors and participants is the director of Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Don Roy King, and Don's going to come on and do a behind the scenes at SNL, which is really going to be fun for
That's
the kids
pretty
to
cool.
see that. We're talking to iHeartRadio to do the making of an artist. How does an artist get from their talent to up on stage in a concert tour? Like, what are all the jobs and steps that have to take place? And then the sports pavilion will be the teams conference and the esports conference. We even have a university pavilion where colleges and universities can get onto the platform, and if they sign on with us as a partner, they get to have a virtual campus tour of their campus, an admissions room, and a programming room. So the kids can click on a button and say they see Rutgers University
Right.
or Rowan or Stockton, and they can go in there and we bring the students to the universities.
That's an interesting way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And if people wanted to get involved, I know that you're probably looking for sponsors. You're probably looking for partners in the college and other spaces. What would be the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, my email, Diane at McGraw Productions. We have a the Dare to Dream Experience.com website. So there's information on there, and McGraw Productions, which is my company.
What is the date for the Dare to Dream virtual experience? What is your intended date?
It's scheduled for January 13th to the 15th.
Okay.
So the first 2 days will be all about sports, entertainment. The third day will be all about the careers. What are the next steps in advancing your career?
What do you think are some of the careers that really stand out in your mind from your experiences, some of the experiences you've heard from other people? Where are the good places to start?
Well, first of all, this esports world now is opening up. So they're looking for a lot of coders and programmers and broadcasters and all of that. There's a lot of, and that's still a new area that everyone's still trying to figure out what is
Sure.
esports. So hopefully we'll have that information on the virtual platform. But esports is big. A lot of students want to get into broadcasting. They see, on-air personalities. So we're going to be having, some featured on-air broadcasters in the program as well. Film production to, even in sports, for example. You watch the Eagles, you watch the Super Bowl, you watch all the games, but there's a whole lot of sideline jobs
Yes.
there. You could even be cutting the grass down at Lincoln Financial
Yep.
Field and be in that
You're
field.
working in sports.
Right. Or you could be up in the suites and you could be entertaining corporate sponsors and activation.
And when you hear some of the stories of people who've been in sports or entertainment, one of the things that really hits home for me, because it's my experience too, is that desire to do something and to get involved, and showing up is half the battle. Because if people start to see that you have an interest in something, they will put you to work. They will give you a chance to do something. And that was what happened in my career when I first started out in sports. But I think that's a common factor for a lot of people. My friend Joe Favorito often talks about the fact that, just say yes to everything. Say yes to everything and show up and be there and be present and be reliable. Because once people start seeing you in the room and they start seeing you in the stadium and they say, that kid's always here. We ought to do something with that kid.
Right.
I mean, that's how it worked for you. They saw you at the tennis event and they thought maybe she knows some people.
If I would have said no, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Exactly, right. I've mentioned this before, and we'll probably have to wrap up here, but a couple years ago, William Shatner had a one-man show on Broadway. And the big theme of the show for him was he never says no to anything. And people always say, well, why are you still working? He says, I want to still work. I want to still be doing things. He says, somebody comes up to me and says, the phone rings. I don't answer hello. I go, yes.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Because he's being open to the possibilities of anything that can come his way.
Yeah. And one other important piece of advice I like to give is you might set out on one path, but you could go in a whole different direction. So don't be afraid. And I like to use the expression, was it Yogi Berra says, when you come to the fork in the road, take it.
Yes.
So just go take it and don't be afraid. And for the students, actually, start early. And high school isn't too early. Volunteer. Work for nonprofits, get out there, work on events, because so many students want to get into sports or they want a job at the Phillies or the Eagles. And, there's so much competition there for, students who have taken sports management programs and all of that, that if you show you have a resume, even starting in high school, that you've worked on events, you've volunteered, and you made yourself available.
Yeah, it really carries a lot of weight, especially that volunteering and showing up and helping out. Even the most mundane things, filling water bottles, cutting the grass, lining the fields, turning the switches on for the lights for the home football game or something like that. Cooking in the concession stand.
Right.
I did all those things. You did all those things.
I used to serve hot dogs at the Army-Navy game when I was 12 years old. Our neighbors had the concessions the Nylon Brothers, and they would pack all the kids on the bus to go to the Army-Navy game. I never realized that 15, 20 years later, I was the liaison for the Army-Navy game with the city of Philadelphia.
See, you never know where it's going to turn out.
Exactly, yeah.
I love that. That's the best part about those behind-the-scenes careers. Well, I'm looking forward to when your behind-the-scenes book comes out. I'm looking forward to seeing the career guide and advice that you create for the Dare to Dream experience. And I encourage our viewers, if you have a student, a child, a friend that has this interest in sports and entertainment, take a look at the Dare to Dream experience website. Reach out to Diane McGraw at McGraw Productions. If you have any questions that you don't get through to her or you forget the number, just give me a call here at the station or online, jim@jhdenterprises.com. I'll be happy to direct your inquiry to Diane and get you in the process. But we're really looking forward to the event in January.
Thank you.
And
Thank you. Our registration actually is going to kick off September 10th.
September 10th. You can
Is the
start
launch.
registering on the
It'll
site.
go on the website, the daretodreamexperience.com, the website. You can click on there and you can register on September 10th.
There we go.
So-
We're on our way, folks. Hopefully, we'll see you all there in Atlantic City. We'll see you on the virtual platform in January. And I hope to see you all again here very, very soon. I want to thank you for being my guest, Diane.
Thank you, Jim. This was wonderful. Thank you.
And I always look forward to hearing from our viewers. Give me a call, 215-266-5943. You have my email, jim@jhdenterprises.com. I look forward to seeing you all again here very, very soon. Goodbye.